Utopians, hope all is well in your world. Don't get too high, don't get too low out here, no matter what the circumstances. With that being said, on that topic, you know what I'm here about, the NFL draft tonight. What an amazing night tonight. Six quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. First defensive player selected was at the 15th overall pick. Just absolutely unbelievable. Let's get the ball rolling. It's crazy that the Chicago Bears had the number one overall pick, and the Detroit Lions, their arch nemesis rival, was hosting the draft. If only Barry Sanders could have made the first announcement instead of Roger Goodell, that would have been hilarious. With that being said, congratulations to the Bears. Everyone was anticipating and knowingly, like most first overall picks, had a clue that Caleb Williams from USC was going to be selected. This is a team that is loaded. Keenan Allen. They took Odunze, who's also a very polished wide receiver, kick returner, explosive, checks all the boxes in terms of athleticism. The Bears have done their due diligence to make sure. I've drawn comparison Caleb Williams to Dak Prescott. I think he'll do the winning for the Bears. The NFC North is going to be one for the ages. This is going to be a straight up battle this year to a level of competition we haven't seen, as they call the quote unquote black and blue division. Washington drafting Jaden Daniels goes along with the theme of them playing it safe. When you look at the decisions they've made, from Dan Quinn to their first free agent signing in Zach Ertz, Jaden Daniels, a Heisman Trophy winner. As much as I would have loved to see him in Oakland, throwing the ball to Devontae Adams, having that camaraderie with Antonio Pierce, having been his coach at Arizona State, and the California connection, the Commanders did what they were supposed to do. I thought Drake May was going to go there. Fun fact, Mac Brown had tried to recruit the offensive coordinator with the Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury, several times before he went to USC, to no avail, obviously. There's always been a mutual respect. I just, for some reason, thought that would have happened, but it didn't. Third pick, though, the Patriots did draft Drake May. I do like Drake May, but I don't like the fit either there. Wasn't too excited about it. New England just has way too many issues. And I'm listening to Mel Kiper, and he said give him 5 to 7 games, which is crazy just in that alone. A quarterback with all those responsibilities, and now you're only given a couple games before you're expected to hit the ground running. With that being said, Drake May going to a situation that has very thin depth, and by 5 to 7 games, knowing the going rate, he could be throwing a ghost out there for all we know. So that was kind of crazy. Arizona Cardinals solidifying their weapons. They haven't really been the same since Fitzgerald. DeAndre Hopkins aged out. It's been a roller coaster. Hollywood Brown's been suffering. They played a game of musical chairs last year at quarterback in the absence of Kyler Murray. Eventually, everyone thought that they were auditioning for a new quarterback. Josh Dobbs, who had moved around a couple of times, he was a crazy story last year. Kyler Murray. Lo and behold, later on, they realized, we're better safe with what we know. The one in the hand is better than two in the bush metaphor. So congratulations to them. Obviously, this is one of the more guaranteed surefire prospects, not just at wide receiver, but in the history of the game at any position. Quarterback, he's up there with the Andrew Lucks, where you can just look at the player and say, oh yeah, he's him. That's it. And so the Cardinals did the right thing. I really thought New England, if they were going to stay put, should have went that direction, especially knowing the curse they had at wide receiver. But they continue to roll the dice. Gerard Mayo administration off to a very risky start, to say the least. This was the most G move I've seen in a long time. Jim Harbaugh spoke glowingly about his all pro tackle. I drawn comparisons to Joe Thomas, steady left tackle brick for the Cleveland Browns. That's exactly who I think he is. He's going to be there for for at least a decade, if not two. He was the anchor. He's the reason why everyone's talking about McCarthy was possibly going to go first overall at one point. Joel, you just have to have a tackle, and that's exactly what the Chargers did. They're solidifying the front line. I thought they were going to go maybe Braylon Allen, get some running, but then when they signed Gus Edwards, they signed both of the Ravens running backs. I don't see that happening. I didn't see, that became obvious it wasn't going to happen. The New York Football Giants, with respect to their situation over there, they could have went many different directions. They've spent a ton of money defensively, so they thought, loaded wide receiver class. Let's go for LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors. They already had success with Odell at linebacker from LSU. They thought they'd try it again. This Malik Neighbors, uh, Brian Thomas Jr. combination is the new Odell Jarvis Landry. So I'm very excited for this guy, Malik Neighbors. I'm happy for Daniel Jones. Um, Everybody, Brian Dabble gets himself a weapon. He's obviously an offensive guru with his run-in with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. They need to have weapons in order to really understand what they had with Daniel Jones. This was the most diplomatic, pragmatic solution because somebody's going to have to go in New York eventually, whether it be Dabble or the GM. So let's go ahead and try to do as much as we can to get them to afford them the weapons needed so we can try to patch the situation so neither one of them have to go. Because at this rate, somebody will get chopped if things don't pick up this year. One of those situations that Adam Schefter was alluding to when he was talking about the Tennessee Titans coach not getting a job this cycle, Vrabel. That could be a job that you can be on the lookout for. Mike Vrabel could definitely step in the Giants. We'll keep that, at bay for right now. Tennessee Titans spent a ton of money this offseason. Pollard replaced King Henry. They went out and spent money on the Jacksonville Jaguars ex-wide receiver Calvin Ripley. Not Ripley, but I'm talking about the guy Ridley. They had to get a vertical threat there. They did so. Now they have to protect Will Levis's blind side. Speaking of quarterbacks, last year he showed enough promise in a small 4-game window for them to want to test the waters and say we might have something here. Let's triple down. Getting Latham is not the sexy pick, but it was the necessary pick. Now, the polar vortex selection with the Atlanta Falcons. They could have went in many directions, and they were the pivot point. Every year you got one team who decides the trajectory of the draft. This was the draft where Atlanta Falcons had a choice to decide what they wanted to do. It could have changed everyone's board. It could have hit the pressure breaker and made a whole different dynamic if they wanted to. But what they ended up doing is going quarterback Michael Penix. First of all, on paper, he checks all the boxes. He had the collegiate tutelage in Kalen DeBeer, who was only second to Jim Harbaugh in my book last year in terms of coaches still around. He's now replacing Nick Saban in Alabama. Then Michael Penix had the most passing attempts out of the quarterback class that was considered deemed to be elite. He also ran under a 4.5. He was in the 4.4s. So I love the decision from the standpoint, yes, you got Kirk Cousins. Yes, you paid him 4 years, $180 million, but you need an insurance policy, and you need someone that can grow with this young core. London's, the B.J. Robinsons. You spent a top 7 pick, and the funny thing is, we just read the headline yesterday about the Cowboys thinking about bringing Ezekiel Elliott. That was the last time a team has decided to draft a running back that high that I could remember before the Bijan Robinson, Jah Gibbs draft last year. So, and it didn't pay off well. So you have a responsibility to make sure you insure your investment, because that was a big time reach last year. I had seeing plenty of boards in unison agreeing that he was a 20 pick, Bijan Robinson, and the Falcons went ahead and went out of their way to draft him as high as they did. I think it was 8, 6, 4, something like that. So, them getting a guy ready to be in the cut and learn, especially knowing he had so many injuries, that was the perfect environment where he doesn't have to rush. He can heal from a lot of the surgeries. He's had some very serious injuries. Well done for the Falcons. I like it. I know a lot of people hate it, but they're solid in almost every department. It was way too early to go corner, so they did the right thing, believe it or not. Kirk Cousins is already coming off an injury. He's over his mid-30s, which is really considered mid-40s in dog years in the NFL. And, the guys, they have to have an insurance policy. Penix checks all the boxes. Even if his throwing motion is awkward to you, by the way, let me remind you, Drew Brees is holds the record for most passing yards, if I'm not mistaken, in the NFL, and he had one of the wackiest mechanics. So, let's not go there. Um, I already talked about Adunze at 9 by the Bears, McCarthy at 10. Jacksonville swapping with Jacksonville, and I think they gave up a third, fourth, and fifth. Let me tell you, he went exactly where he's supposed to. I love the trending topic on Twitter where they were talking. Go check us out if you'd like. GL number 8 BAL_sports. JJ McCarthy so it's JJ to JJ, Justin Jefferson to Justin, but McCarthy to Justin Jefferson. But um, you know, it's similar to his Michigan situation. Everything is set, good coaching. The stage is set. Line, running back, wideouts. Addison, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. They got it. They got it. Aaron Jones at running back, solid O line. Everything is set for him. I think it was a great selection. If he would have went somewhere like New England, I wouldn't be fond of his career. But with the Vikings, anything is possible. I had him as Alex Smith, and so with the Vikings though and those weapons, who knows? The sky's the limit. But he definitely has a place in the league since he went to the right direction, um, to the right destination. The Jets going offensive line. Look, you got a 40-year-old who's brittle. Uh, they needed to protect him. I'm never going to question a team going trenches. That's where the game is won. Kudos to the Giants for making the matured pick and not going out there trying to acquire more. Doing something wacky like drafting wide receiver or something. Go check out my guy Dave Talk Broncos, Dave Talk Buffs, uh, Broncos to get more further elaboration on uh, the Denver Broncos and their quarterback situation. Earlier this week, we seen Sean Payton acquire Zach Wilson at quarterback, and so a lot of people might have thought they were done. Bo Nix had the second most pass attempts after Michael Penix. Coincidental that they were only a couple slots apart. Um, I have full faith that he's going to pan out well. By the time he's ready to be rolled out, I think ultimately for him, they'll have acquired a real threat at wide receiver. They will have their salary cap situation more secure. So kudos to the Broncos though, getting their guy. They have the defense. You can always try to find guys in the late round. I could definitely see them going Rice, McCaffrey, juniors, both the juniors. One of them landing in Denver, so they're going to be fine. Honestly, that was the right move. Get yourself a quarterback if you believe it. This is a very nice class of quarterbacks to pick from, and so kudos to them. Again, the pressure breaker was hitting. Once somebody drafts, there's a run on the mill, and you better not get caught lacking with whatever it is that you were hoping to get. So if you see what you want, you go get it. Speaking of pressure breaker, that was the last of quarterbacks at that point. Spencer Rattler was the only thing next who I have compared to as Baker Mayfield. Spencer had one of the worst whole lines in the NFL. I mean, in college, and managed to figure out he just has an it factor. And the Raiders didn't go that route. Instead, they went Brock Bowers. Kind of shocked that he fell that far to 13. But with Antonio Pierce there, being a defensive-minded guy, tight end is the new quarterback's best friend. They needed to get this pick right with this new administration, and that's exactly what they did. So congrats to the Raiders for doing what they did and handling business the way they did, because you just need to get it right, and they can get an immediate ROI, return on investment, on this selection at 13. The Saints went trenches. Good for them. That's what you're supposed to do. Then 15 happened, offensive line, I believe. 15, then you got Latu, who's the defensive end from UCLA. I think he won Pac-10, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year honors. Just a great energy guy. Kudos to the Saints. I mean, the Colts. They remind me kind of like the Lions with Sue, with Stafford. Like, they got mutants there, man. Richardson is the quarterback. You got Pittman Jr. You got the Latu now. They get freaks, man. You know what I mean? They're just a super unique team and a really exciting team. Kudos to the Colts. I like that pick a lot for them. Murphy was the best moving along. So that was the first actual defensive guy at 15. Brian Murphy, 16th pick from Texas, best defensive tackle in terms of grade. and the Seahawks, you don't even got to question them. They're a blue collar franchise. They don't do goofy things. That's one of the things about the Seahawks. They don't do goofy things. They're the team that fleeced the Broncos from Russell Wilson and got a tight end out of it. Like they just they just move along. You know what I mean? And even if they do got to cut losses, they don't really pay for it. It's easy to be a Seahawks fan. They always are looking out for their team's best interest. 17. I'm sorry. I think that's where the trade came from. I'm sorry, from the Jaguars. That was a great deal. Dallas Turner is the new Will Anderson of the Houston Texans. He is special, okay? And him going that far, that goes to show you hype, situations. That's why I mentioned to start. If you look in the news recently, most improved player in the NBA, Tyrese Maxey, 21st overall pick. Sixth man of the year for the NBA, undrafted, Naz Reid. The wide receiver who just reset the quarterback, the wide receiver market yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick. What's the correlation? Where you get drafted doesn't matter. Dallas Turner was not on anyone's top 10 list, but he's going to give you top 10 performance. This guy is the Will Anderson of this year's draft, and he's going 17. Conversely, we didn't hear a lot about Will Anderson. He was just guaranteed a top 3 spot last year in draft. Was it last year's draft? Yeah. Dallas Turner's that man. And I don't know how he fell to 17, but like, for instance, the Raiders, they're going to look crazy. They need help offensively. Granted, they had some very bad shedding, but a team like Dallas, a team like Oakland, any team that struggles defensively and they let that happen is going to be looked at sideways, because that guy's guaranteed. Amari's Mims, everyone was fond of that move. Bengals are being responsible. They go responsible. 19, you got the Rams selecting Verse. Verse is a kind of undersized guy. Wasn't highly recruited out of college. He's pretty much like got the Aaron Donald story. They think they're going to strike lightning twice again. 20, Troy Fontanu. That's a Steelers pick. Just a sturdy, steady pick. Congrats to them. They know what they're doing. These guys have been winning every year. Had no quarterback last year. Still broke into the playoffs. 21st pick, Chop Robinson. A lot of people like this pick. I think rarely you can get everyone to agree on something. Chop Robinson, first of all, we know the Dolphins are cerebral. They're dynamic, explosive offensively. Anything that describes amazing offensively is what Miami is. They needed to figure out what they were going to do on defense. Speaking of Denver and getting fleeced, they traded with Denver for Bradley Chubb, and that trade has not panned out the way it needed to. Looks like Denver sold high at the right time. Even though I was very critical of the trade last year, knowing how much Vance Joseph was getting crucified, kudos to the Broncos on that trade, because Chop Robinson is he's going to fix that issue. He's going to be out the gate another one. What a draft, man! Dallas Turner, Chop Robinson. These are going to be legacy names for the next 10 summers. Kudos to these two teams. Quinyon Marshall was graded by almost everyone as the best cornerback in this draft. Clocked a 4.3. Howie Roseman, you don't even got to question him. You got the Bradbury on one side. My guy from the Detroit Lions, Slay. He's getting up there in age now, and he's starting to lose a step. It was necessary. Mitchell is a perfect timing for him to arrive there. My favorite move of the draft, Brian Thomas Jr. This is the other piece I believe that was from the Minnesota. They traded with Minnesota 3rd, 4th, 5th. Got to move back, swap picks. Brian Thomas falling there. Him and Trevor Lawrence, I'm telling you, they already got Gabe Davis. The league's in trouble, man. Brian Thomas, to me, I actually like him more than Neighbors, as crazy as that sounds. Led the nation in touchdowns. He's just a chill dude. Some people might misconstrue. He's like an Allen Robinson type of dude. And it's crazy to me. Prime Allen Robinson. We take for granted how amazing he was. But, dude, that was a big, big, big time move right there by the Jaguars. Gabe Davis was my favorite guy out of free agency for them. And then they go and get this. This is going to be a team to watch next year. And you just mark my words. Trevor Lawrence is coming. That guy got railroaded from that pick of Urban Meyer, who was not in the place to want to coach. when he got to Jacksonville. I mean, yeah, when he got to Jacksonville, really, I mean, stunted his growth terribly, and you're going to see him get his career on track. Trevor Lawrence season is in full effect, and Jacksonville has spent the money to ensure it. Kudos to them. Kudos to both sides. Detroit Lions getting Terrion Arnold. They already struck lightning with Branch, who was phenomenal. He danced between corner and safety last year, nickel slot. Went ahead and got the other guy, Terrion Arnold. I love his tape, man. He's so physical and aggressive. That's how I like my corners. You know, if all else fails, go out there and get physical, grab on somebody. And that's exactly what Terrion Arnold is known for. And, you know, he's drawing. Last year, Brad Holmes wanted to go Witherspoon. Seahawks took that from him. Ended up having to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, guess what? He's just another prototype like that. He's just an exact copy of that. Kudos to them. Morgan is going to be replacing Colorado alum Bakhtari at tackle. Injuries caught up to Bakhtari. We don't even know if if he's got anything in the tank. I hope he does reunion with Aaron Rodgers and with the Jets. But that's what the Green Bay Packers had in mind when they moved off that. You know, Buccaneers got Darton. Darius Robinson was the next pick with the Cardinals. And then you got Xavier Worthy, Speed Demon. Straight up did that 40 time, and everyone knew his name from then on forward. You know, Pat Mahomes, we don't know what's going to be going on with the tragic events with Rashee Rice. I don't want to say too much else on that. I don't talk about criminal proceedings. Let's just say I hope thoughts and prayers with all parties. They needed a wide-out vertical guy. Worthy fell right to him. Congrats. I know Lamar Jackson's punching the sky right now. You know, Cowboys went trenches, got Tyler Guyton. I know they had to let go of their guy, Tyrone, from USC. Had to let him go finally, so that was a replacement move. Notice I don't never criticize anybody, that wants to. I don't criticize anyone that wants to go trenches. Wiggins to the Ravens, you know, another team like Seattle, you don't question the Ravens and what they do in the first round. They know what they're doing, whether you like it or not, hate it or love it. Then you got Pearsall. That one's a unique pickup. That's a wide receiver. That's interesting to me because, you know, we heard the Brandon Ayuk rumors. There was a contract. There isn't a contract. Now they're saying he's demanding a trade. At the same time, T. Higgins and Hendrickson of the Bengals did so. So I love the 32nd pick. Xavier Legette to the Panthers, getting Bryce Young a one vertical weapon. That's a great start. 6'2", he's got that T.O. type frame, 6'2", 230, physical, runs them routes. That's another name to look out for. This was a phenomenal draft. I'm happy for all sides. This was amazing. Just about everyone did their thing. You're going to see some real great household names come from this first round. Great value. The NFL is more parity than it's ever had. More competition than it's ever had. And it's only going to continue. I'll try to do better next time, Utopians. Global out.